Despite what Hollywood might tell you, being a professor isn't nearly this exciting. Welcome to Deep Thoughts While Gaming. I'm Chris Chappell. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, released December 8th, allows you to experience the thrilling life of Dr. Henry Walton Indiana Jones Jr., professor at the prestigious and fictional Marshall College in Connecticut, as he uses his liberal education to defeat Nazism once again. Indiana Jones acting as a stand-in for every professor's wet dream, being able to do what they love while getting the respect they deserve, with enough time left over to master their various strange and eccentric hobbies. The epitome of what it means to be a Renaissance man. However, is the image of the academic that Indiana Jones portrays really what one can expect when they go down this career path? Originally introduced to the world in 1981 in his first movie, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Dr. Jones benefited from entering the scene at a time when academia didn't feel like paying too much for a gold star sticker. The general societal sentiment was still on the side of college being a noble pursuit. It was still largely affordable and, perhaps more importantly, sexy. The college professor was not a meme, but an actual class you could play in the game of life. Your lectures building off of the adventures you yourself lived. Join Dr. Jones as he goes from the Vatican to the Himalayas, fist-fighting anyone who gets in his way, showing the spirit of a true-blooded American, with the game switching from open-world exploration sections full of hidden pathways to more on-rails cinematic sections, keeping the game thematic from start to finish. This isn't just a game, after all. With over 3 hours of cinematics, it could be its own movie, too. A movie you star in, with multiple ways to progress through the game depending on if you would prefer to put your skill points into sneaking, shooting, or hat magic. The enemies respond in turn to your gameplay, only using their guns if you use yours first. Respectful Nazis, I guess. Allowing the player to control the difficulty of their life to some degree by not waving their gun out in public. A lesson we could all do well to remember. The puzzles are impressive, yet also often avoidable for those not interested in discovering all the secrets the game has to offer. OG fans will be happy to know that the developers took care to maintain Harrison Ford's original energy as the character of Indy, with Troy Baker, the voice actor, stating in one interview that he was even afraid to attempt to try out for the role, out of fear of not being able to live up to people's expectations. Those are some pretty big boots to fill, after all, with 5 movies and more than 20 games showing Indy's contribution to academia and the world at large. His success serving as a call for would-be academics to aspire towards, burning the midnight oil with their heads stuck in textbooks, attempting with all their might to end up in a place of prominence like Dr. Jones, able to teach during the year and end up with enough money to visit Rome in the summer. Unfortunately, most of the PhDs out there today will never get there. An article titled PhDs by the Numbers, Important Stats for Current and Job-Seeking PhDs, states that although the number of people with PhDs has steadily increased 6-fold from 1958 to 2017, the number of jobs for PhDs still promises only 1 in 10 of them will have a full-time position in academia after they graduate. You'll also very likely never have the opportunity to get in shootouts with Nazis. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is based in 1937, a simpler time when you could not only be a professor while feeding yourself, but could even afford to feed your family. If you're planning on going to grad school nowadays, don't expect to be able to afford leaving the country as often as Dr. Jones does, because all the tenured positions are currently occupied, and the positions that are left will have you teaching classrooms full of part-time workers and full-time students in community colleges and back alleys, all of them potentially making more money than you. Dr. Karen Kelsky, an academic career consultant, wrote in her book, The Professor is In. The modern university system systematically requires an unending supply of young, vulnerable idealists to work for poverty wages. The advanced degrees these students earn is simply a byproduct of this systemic exploitation and not meant to carry value forward as a basis for high-wage employment. This raises the question, how much does your education actually matter to you, when it's also the reason you're living on the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy? Academia isn't what it once was. The president of Harvard plagiarized her dissertation, bogus articles are being published in major research journals, with a growing number of quiet retractions showing maybe the ivory tower of research isn't quite what we thought, and AI-generated paper mills publishing papers en masse basically mean you won't get published. So you won't get tenured, which means you won't have the money to travel to exotic locations to collect ancient curses. Internet uncle and commonplace holy man Jordan Peterson views the situation as so untenable that he's pursuing starting his own university online, separate from traditional academia and what he views as its apparent Marxist philosophical underpinning. Peterson Academy, which already boasts over 35,000 students willing to learn from the same professors who taught at Ivy League institutions without paying the Ivy League costs, and interacting with problems of the traditional education system. Does that mean you could be the next Indiana Jones? It's possible, but your career path may end up looking a bit more scuba instructor and a bit less archaeology professor. Indiana Jones and other figures from the past can act as historical bookmarks, showing the world what Hollywood could make out of an archaeologist in the 20th century. But unfortunately, reality strayed farther away from this ideal in the meantime. And it isn't that there aren't any good people in academia, but it is that the pride, virtue, and overall meaning of this philosophical notion has lost its luster in recent years. India is gonna have to wait. Thank you for watching Deep Thoughts While Gaming. And remember, don't bring a whip to a gunfight. Like Deep Thoughts While Gaming? Support more episodes on patreon.com/gamersunbeaten or hit that join button to become a channel member. You'll unlock exclusive emojis, live streams, videos, a Discord server, and your own personal barrel of Nazis to punch. Or if you really wanted to get a look at the true nature of evil, take a look in the mirror and click on this video about Untitled Goose Game.